What's good, y'all? We're back again. Today we're going to be doing a crop style haircut. Right now I'm parting the top of the head, and what I'm doing is I'm creating a horseshoe parting. I'm going from the back of the crown to each recession point in the hair, and that's where I'm going to be splitting the head. Splitting the hair on the head. I'm doing it right on top of that parietal ridge, and I did it on both sides. The reason why I go from the crown to the recession point, I like to use the corner of the recession point because it gives me the most even separation in between the top and the bottom for that fall line. And now what I'm doing is I'm combing the hair down into my fingers, and I'm using the back of my knuckles, and I'm putting that flush on the head. And I'm gonna follow this all the way around the head, and I'm pulling down instead of straight out vertical towards me. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to try and keep it as close to the head as possible. And you'll see here again, I'm going from the crown, the corner of the cowlick, or the middle of the cowlick, to the corner of that recession point on that left part of his head. And I'm just fine tuning my parting, and clean sections calls for clean work. So that's something that you really want to make sure you're doing. You really want to make sure your partings are clean as possible. That way you can get a clean cut and it's even and symmetrical all throughout. As you can see right here, brushed the hair down through my fingers, and I'm keeping the back of my fingers and my knuckles, on the head. And the reason why I'm doing this again is to keep the hair close to that, as close to the skull as possible. And I'm also going to be keeping the top darker. It's not going to be as tight all the way up to that parietal ridge. And I'm just following the same shape as I did all the way back, and I'm trying to keep it in the same area. Trying to keep it as symmetrical and as clean as possible. This way, I can set up for the shear work portion of the haircut. And as you can see, I'm just following the same exact steps all the way around the head until I get to the front of that recession point. The next step that I will be doing is I'm going to be creating a parting behind the ear and separating this parietal ridge area, this weight area where the hair is at, and I'm going to be separating it so that I can create a gradient style cut. The reason why I'm doing this is because the hair, or not the hair, but the head itself is round. And what this is going to do is we're going to be offsetting that roundness with triangles on the head. So what I'm doing is I'm going from the crown and I'm splitting right where that recession point is. As you can see right here, starting from the crown and going down to a corner, and I'm creating a triangle. And what this is going to do is going to help create gradient within the cut, so that the hair is falling on top of each other, and it's not creating such a hard line. And when you're doing this, you want to lift up and you want to pull out towards you, and you want to make sure you're cutting the hair so that it's even. And as you can see, I'm just following along, and I'm creating those 3 sections. And what this will do is the hair that is higher up on the head in those sections, it'll get cut to an even length while it's pulled out, so that when it falls, it lands a little bit on top of that bottom section. It's almost like you're creating layers on the side of the head. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working from behind the ear to the back of the head. And what I'll be doing is I'm going to be creating 1-inch sections to the right of where I originally start, and I'll just be pulling that down, and I'm going to be cutting the longer hairs to the previous cut so that everything is even, and I'm still going to be following the shape of the head. And now once this side's done, we're going to be following the same exact steps on the right side. So I got my parting from the original cuts that I did. Now I'm creating another parting directly behind the ear, and I'm going to be doing the triangle sections just like I did on the other side, going from behind the ear all the way to the corner of that recession point. You can see it a little bit better over on this side. I'm pulling the hair down, sliding it through my fingers, and I'm creating another cut, creating my guideline, and I'm going to follow right back up with the other 2 partings that I do. So I'm splitting each section. So I'll create one section, and then I'll split it again and work up a little bit higher. And after that second section, I'm going to be pulling down the top of it so that you know, I can get the longer bits that were on top as well. And I'm just following back up again. I'll go left to right, and then once I get to that top parting, once I make it all the way to the front, I'll just work back left again just for some precision to make sure that everything's fine-tuned and even. And then what I'll be doing after this is I'm going to be working towards the back of the head, and I'm going to be doing the same step as I did once I hit behind that ear. I'm going to be creating 1-inch sections, slowly moving to the left into the center of the head. This way I'm getting all the uneven parts of the hair, and I'm making sure that the colic area is still full and strong. And now, as you can see, I'm combing everything vertically back, squeezing it together with my fingers, and I'm coming off of the head, and I'm creating a vertical cut right in the back so that I'm not digging too deep into that colic. And this right here, this is where we're going to be doing the main cutting for our style that we're going to be doing. It is a crop haircut. I've done multiple different ways, different techniques. This is the technique that I find that works the best for me, and this is one that I think gets the hair even and makes sure that you're not taking too much off the top when you're cutting a crop style haircut. So what I do is I brush the hair forward, and I have the client facing me, and what I'll do is I'll create 1-inch sections starting from the back of the head. I'll bring the section forward, my first line, so I start in the back, make a 1-inch section, follow the comb all the way to the front of the bangs, and once I get to a little bit of the front, I'm curving my comb towards the right side of the head. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be creating gradient and layers within the hair so that it's not all one super even cut. And what this will do is it's going to help you make sure that the shape of the crop and the angles that you need are all even within different sections of the head and different points of the head. So as you can see now, I'm working on the bangs. And what I'll do is I will comb the hair on the left side of the head over, where that parietal ridge is. And I'm scooping the hair into my fingers, and I'm cutting it off vertically off the head at a 90-degree angle so that it creates a square shape. And what I'm doing now is I will follow it all the way to the bangs, because when you have that crop style haircut, you want the bangs to be level with the fade. So right where that fade's at, you want to have those bangs come off the head as well. And that's why I'm following it through that recession point into where the corner and where the corner of the bangs meet. Just following it all the way through, just being patient, not moving too fast. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm starting from the back with my 1-inch section. Once I get towards the front of the bangs, I brush the hair down. And you can see right here by what I mean when I'm brushing it off the side of the head. I'm trying to follow the natural hair growth pattern. There you can see right there, start from the back, work towards the front, move the comb to the opposite side of the head so that you can bring those hairs over through the top, and you can make an even cut for the bangs, which will also follow up on the side of the head. So right there, combing the hair down, scooping it off the side, pulling it straight off vertically, and I'm pulling it at a 90-degree angle straight towards my chest, and then I'm cutting where the long bits are, making it even with the side. This right here, still following it all the way to the bangs, and as you can see, there are longer hairs that are hanging over from the previous cut, and that's where I'm going to be, cutting and making it even. This right here, same step. I work from the left side of the head and then the right side of the head. And you can see a little bit better on this side when I'm brushing the hair off the right side of the head, pulling it straight towards my chest, and I'm cutting the hair right along that parietal ridge. And the reason why I do this is because when the hair is brushed straight down, and if any hair goes off of the right side, you don't have any hang. There's no hangover from the top of the head to the side where that parietal ridge, and that's where our blend's going to be as well. So I'm scooping the hair right down into my fingers, bringing it right towards me. I know my thumb's kind of in the way, but you could see a little bit better on this side. The camera's got a little bit nicer of an angle. Just making sure that that parietal ridge is even with the bangs so that we're keeping that whole area dark and that it flows well with the haircut. As you can see right there, start from the back, pulling it towards the bangs, and I bring my comb over to the left side. And you can see the longer hairs. This way it's a lot more easy for you to get an even cut, and you're not taking too much, off of the bang area, because that's a very crucial part in a crop style haircut, is the transition from that parietal ridge into the bangs. And that's what gives it that bowl look, but it doesn't look like a straight up bowl cut. In this right here, you just brush the bangs down a little bit, cut them, make sure that it's all even and looking good. And I try and do anywhere from 3 to 5 sections on each half of the head. I like to split up the top of the head into at least 10 sections if I can, just to ensure the most even cut possible. So this is a little bit time consuming, takes about 15 minutes, just because I'm not rushing through and I'm not flying through the process. But whenever it comes to a crop style haircut or a comb over, I always like to cut the top first and then blend into it. This way, I don't have to follow back up too much and clip the sides of the hair and dig into that haircut. But as you can see, the longer hairs are falling over the bangs, and I'm just doing a little freestyle trim right here, following the shape of the bangs and how I want it to look. So you could have it rounded, you could have it more straight across, you could have it at a peak. It all depends on how you want to do it. And now I'm creating my horizontal parting. I lied, I'm a liar. I lied. So what I did right there is I split the hair from the middle of the crown all the way into the front of the bangs, and I'm brushing everything over to the sides so that there is no hangover. The reason why I do this is because there are going to be a little bit of longer bits throughout the haircut that you miss. This way it ensures that everything is even when you brush it forward. It's kind of like you're cross-checking the haircut. Just make sure that when you do this method, you don't go into the bangs too much and you're still creating a straight line all the way throughout. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be creating my horizontal sections on top of the head. I like to start with an inch section directly in the middle of the head. And what I'll do is I start from the back of the crown, lift the hair up vertical, straight up off the head, 90 degrees. And then I will work my way towards the front of the haircut and the bangs. Now, I don't go all the way to the bangs. I still leave maybe about 1/8 of an inch distance from the very front part of the bangs. I like to do this because I like keeping that bang area full. And this helps me out the best way to do it, so I can get an even cut from the top of the head right on that apex. And that's the main focal point right here, is making sure that the apex is cut and texturized and on all even length. So what I'll have is, pretty sure I do 3 sections on each side, so a total of 6 sections on top of the head on the apex. And as you can see, I'm not going all the way to the bangs. I'm still leaving a little bit of it left, and I'm just cutting this so that it falls short and right behind the bang haircut. Now right here, instead of doing my horizontal parting, I'm going not diagonally, vertical. That's the right word, right? Vertical. Creating vertical partings, starting from the middle as my guideline and going directly right off of the parietal ridge, pulling it up and angling it a little bit, just so that it does give it a slight rounded shape. And now I'm just following that horizontal parting again on the left side of the head. As you can see, pulling the hair straight up, working my way towards the bangs. And you can actually cut this in a couple different ways. You can do straight across cutting. With what I'm doing right now is more of a blunt cut. You can point cut, you can chop cut, you can add more texture to it. You can do shallow cutting, whichever way you want to cut. and to give the hairstyle a different look and a different type of flow, make it more choppy, you can do that as well. So here I'm creating another horizontal parting. This is gonna help me maintain the evenness throughout the top of the head on that apex. And as you can see, when I'm lifting up the hair, there are short bits, and I'm just cutting it so that it's even to that. This way you keep that apex nice and even, the hairs are all even and the same length, and you don't have any unevenness on the top of the head. And I'm just gonna follow back up along that horizontal parting that I first did. I'm going from right to left, and what I'll do is I'm gonna cut off those long bits that are on the corner of the head from where the apex and the parietal ridge meet. There's going to be a little bit of extra hangover, and you just want to cut that off and make sure that everything's even, and try not to go too far up towards the bangs, because then you will dig into that recession point accidentally. Now we're getting right into the blend, and I'm going to start off with my 3. I'm going to be going up towards that parietal ridge, and I'm not going to be trying to go higher than where the bangs are at. I want to make sure that that is where the highest point is going to be, right where it's even with the bangs on that parietal ridge. Following right back up with my wall number 2 guard, and I'm just going to make sure that I'm going up. I start with my lever open, I flick out, and I'm going to be going right underneath where I left that 3 guard. Now that I've removed some of the bulk, I'm going to be following back up with no guard. And I don't like setting in bald lines with too much bulk, because then I can't really see where that final line is for the bald line. Sometimes it'll be uneven and choppy, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to see, and it just makes more work because you have to follow back up and fine tune it. But after that, I'm just going right back in with my 1.5 guard, starting with my lever open, slowly closing it, and I'm just constantly working underneath my previous lines. Right after that 1.5 guard, following right back up with my wall number 1 guard, and doing the same process as I do with all my guards. Start with the lever open, slowly closing it, working it to the lever closed, and then once that lever is closed, I go right underneath it with the next guard. And don't be afraid to go up a little bit higher too than you normally would. This way you can ensure that when you're flicking out, you're blending right into that previous guard. So after the 1, you got the half guard. Sometimes I won't use my number 1 guard depending on how the hair is blending. I'll guard skip, but for this case, I'm following right in the order: 3, 2, 1.5, 1, half, and then no guard. Now I've got my lever off. No, I got my guard off. I got my lever all the way open. I'm going to slowly be closing it to get rid of that dark line that you guys can see right there. And as you can see, the blend's looking good. It's looking nice and dark up towards the top, giving it that crop style, and it's making it pop. And now I'm working on that back section of the head. I like to split my blend up in 3 sections. I like to do the right side, left side, and then the back side, or left, right, and the back. That's just my preferred method, and I know some people who like to blend all the way around at one time. We'll do just one half and the other half, but now I'm just going to be going through and doing detailing work, you know, right on that bottom, not bottom, but the back section of the head. I'm going to be following the same steps, making sure these blends are buttery smooth. Now I got the one guard all the way open, just slowly removing that darkness that you can see right in the back of the head, right on top of that occipital bone, right in that crown area. Still trying to keep that as dark as possible. Don't want to go too light. Also going to be, you know, blending down and working it till it's buttery and smooth and making that shit crispy. So I got my 3 guard right now, and I'm just going to be following the same exact steps as we did on the other side. Starting with the lever open, working around to the back. I'm going to hit it with the 2, and then I'm going to create that bald line. And here we are hitting it with the 2, you know, just lightening up that top part of the parietal ridge, because that's going to be the highest point that we're blending to. So I'm essentially just debulking this whole entire area and trying to make sure that the top part of the blend will be as dark as possible, because we're going to be doing a tight transition. The blend isn't all the way stretched out, so I just want to make sure that that top section is, you know, nice and light. Alright, I got the 1.5 guard right now. It's open. I'm going to be following from the left side of the head all the way to the back, and I'm just trying to stay underneath my 2 guard and the previous guards that I used, because I don't want to raise the blend. I just want to create a nice transition. And right now I feel that the blend is light enough for me to follow up with no guard and close the clipper and create that guideline, my bald guideline. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm going to be going up on the head, creating that bald guideline, setting in where I want it to be, and then I'm going to be hitting it back with my T-outliners, smoothing out that bottom part, and you know, I'm just going to make sure that it's as even as possible around the head. And I saved you the time from seeing it, but just balled it out the bottom, and now I'm working back with my 1.5 guard. Now I got that 1 guard on there, lever open, and I'm just staying underneath my previous guard, just slowly closing that lever. And there will be certain parts on certain heads that some spots are lighter. Some people will have divots in their head, so it'll be a little bit darker in an area. So you just have to make sure you're paying attention to that, and you're following up with the right guard, keeping it either open or closed. This way you can lighten up those areas, because not everybody's skin is going to be perfect, and the anatomy of the skull will not be perfect either. So there's going to be high spots, low spots, divots, imperfections. You just have to be mindful of that and just make sure you're doing the best you can to try and make it as even as possible throughout the head. And instead of using my half guard right here, I'm going to be creating an inch guideline with my lever open. This is where I'm going to be blending out that bald guideline at the bottom of the haircut. And then once I do that, we're going to get rid of that little dark area, and we're going to blend it all in with that half guard. And guys, when you are using no guard and you have your lever open, don't be afraid to go up a little bit. You want to make sure that you're going up high enough to where you can blend out that bottom line, because you can always take out, you know, this guideline that was set in with the lever open with the half guard. But it's very difficult to you know, get that bald line out if you're not going up high enough. So just make sure that you're going up high enough with your guards. At least go up an inch, you know, half an inch to an inch for each guideline. You know, this way you can ensure that you're able to blend it out smoothly. And now for the final part of the blend, we're going to be working on that back part of the head right by that occipital bone in the nape area. Just going to slowly start blending up, creating that smooth bald guideline with my lever closed. And then I got the lever open, and I'm just doing some lever play right here, working on that bottom line. And we're going to be working out any dark spots that you see in the back of the head. And these are going to be the last couple steps that we do. Just hitting it with the half guard. I might go back over it with a one guard, but pretty much just lightening up any dark areas, you know, trying to keep it as clean and as smooth as possible. And about to check out that final product here in a second. Look at that. And we got the blend, we got it styled, we got the beard done. We're looking fresh to death right now. That's a crop style haircut. The top is long. Got that bald fade all the way up. Look at that. So he likes it. It's a good cut. His fire is buttery. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Drop a like, subscribe. That's a crop style haircut, guys. So, you know, the next time, don't know what we'll be doing, but we're gonna get something in.